So the first piece of news I want to talk about is a Bloomberg report that came out about the Biden administration considering secondary sanctions on Western semiconductor companies that send their technology to China. One of them that was cited was ASML, which makes top-of-the-line electron ultraviolet lithography
That's
machines.
right. You nailed it.
God, awesome.
You nailed it.
So this is a big deal. Instantly, the biggest chip stocks in the world plunged. The entire market was kind of taken down by it because it's been carried by NVIDIA right now. So I want to talk about what the implications here are. Of course, these chip companies like ASML, NVIDIA, AMD, Intel, they all do a lot of business in China. But the Biden administration hasn't seen enough progress on being able to slow down their semiconductor development and slow down their technology in general, because with slower semiconductors, that'll really hurt their development of military technology.
Sure.
Do you think these secondary sanctions are a good idea, or do you think they could backfire in any way?
It sucks because I almost don't know enough, but I think that it is in America's interest to be as hard on China about these chip sanctions as possible.
Okay.
And then if we hurt these companies, we should make them whole on the back end. Because it is vital that they are loyal to us.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Like ASL,
so you think we should pay them out? Pay them
basically.
Off. Interesting.
I would be in favor of paying them off.
I get it. I don't think we have to.
Well, that's the other thing. If we don't have to, we don't have to. But if like ASL, what's the company?
ASML.
ASML is going to be facing some serious
profit
losses. You know, and then they could prove that.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be against the government saying, "Oh, we'll give you a really nice contract to build stuff here." You know what I mean?
Yeah, I guess so. I think the difference is we've talked about this so many times, decoupling from the Chinese market.
Yeah.
But more than that, we're bifurcating into two global markets.
That is very true.
Right, and I just can't imagine an ASML or an AMD or any of these other companies choosing the Chinese, North Korean, Russian, Iranian market over the American, Canadian, Mexican, and European markets.
I agree.
So I think it could be okay. I don't know if it would hurt like the innovation that these companies can do for the West and Western technology to not have the profit that they're getting from China. But honestly, it would probably still be more in our interest to slow ourselves down a little bit in the interest of slowing them down even more.
Yeah, like if we slow ourselves down by 10%, but slow them down 50%, take it.
Or even 20.
Right, take it.
Yeah, exactly. I think you're right.
It's too much of an important industry, and it's becoming a military commodity at this point, you know?
Yes.
And it's when we're talking about these high-end chips, we're not talking about the chips that go in your car, really. We're not talking about the chips that go in your blender. We're not talking about those types of chips. We're talking about the chips that make OpenAI possible.
Yes.
We're talking about the chips that go into some crazy, you know, Predator missile, Modern Warfare 2 type stuff.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yes. The highest tech drones that exist.
Yeah.
Okay, so now I want to talk about the other piece of news, which was an interview that came out from Donald Trump, where he suggested that we would not protect Taiwan if he became president. Basically, he was like, we're nothing more than an insurance company, and we're not getting paid for it at all. So why would we defend them? He's like, they have to pay us if they want our defense. Of course, TSMC, Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Company, they are the biggest producer. It's almost hard for me to keep track in my head like what each of the companies does, because NVIDIA is huge and owns one or two parts of the supply chain entirely. ASML owns one part entirely. TSMC owns another part entirely. I just don't remember which part that is.
We made a whole video or talking about the entire supply chain about a year ago now. That's like a 45-minute video that literally walks through all of this. Wish you could keep all that stuff in your brain all the time, right?
Yeah, I absolutely cannot.
I'd be Jimmy Neutron.
But if TSMC goes down, 92% of our high-end chips go down. So it seems super blind, but also we've talked before about how Trump says these things to create a better negotiating position. And I could see a world where we do just get paid to protect them.
Maybe. That might be true.
Might
be true. Trump has been anti-protecting Taiwan for I remember a couple years now. In 2022, Pelosi flew out to Taiwan.
Yes.
And Trump was very critical. He said that she was stoking war and all these other things. So he's been very, very critical about Taiwan independence in the past. And we've had this strategic ambiguity in this country about like, will we protect Taiwan? Will we not protect Taiwan? And Trump basically saying we're not. That changes things. It's definitely a shift. The same way when Joe Biden says off the cuff that he does support. What do you think?
I don't think he is saying that. He's saying they should pay us.
Oh, okay.
Right? He's not saying just that we won't protect. I mean, he's suggesting that, but that's why I think the same way that he suggested that we wouldn't protect a NATO country if they weren't spending up to their 2% GDP. Like we both thought that was a bad idea and it would embolden Russia, but also more countries did spend more of their GDP on defense while Trump was president because they were worried about him not protecting them.
Sure.
So like it's hard to go back and forth. Basically, I believe that us not protecting Taiwan, if he went through with that, would be bad policy. But him trying to stoke Taiwan maybe to contribute more to its own defense, as well as, I mean, paying us probably wouldn't be a bad thing unless it was depriving their own people massively.
Sure.
That probably wouldn't be the end of the world.
No, I don't necessarily disagree with that point either.
Yeah.
Yeah.